Hi, everybody. I'm Matt.
I'm Dean.
Welcome to another episode of The Real DMV, your backstage pass to all things film-related in the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area.
I'm a dreamer, and I believe that as a dreamer, I should help other dreamers. I believe wholeheartedly Jamie Lee Curtis is the GOAT. And I never saw her on set tense. Actors act, producers produce, directors direct, writers write. Everyone else just talks about it. You know, the really great actors I've worked with, they don't care about fame. John Hawkes doesn't care about fame. Woody didn't even, I mean, obviously it's easy to say he's famous, but he just didn't. It was irrelevant. Keanu, it's irrelevant, man. It comes with the thing, but it's not like they're sitting at home, I'm so happy I'm famous.
The whole truth was you and Keanu. What was that like for you? And what was it like to just get the call to work with Keanu?
All of that was extremely exciting, and shout out to Megan Lewis, who actually was a casting director who started here in Baltimore. She was an assistant on The Wire, who is now a huge casting director down in the Southeast. An amazing, amazing person. She became my casting angel, and I really do believe actors who start to have success generally have maybe a couple, but in my experience, sometimes it's just one casting person sees something. They just see something in you that maybe other people miss, or, you know, whatever the case is. Because there's a lot of us, there's a lot of actors, but she was my casting angel, man. She saw something in me. I didn't even realize she had been on The Wire. I didn't know. I didn't realize until it kind of came together. David Simon's doing this show, David Simon, and then I'm like, oh my gosh. So she was an associate on The Wire. But anyway, she just really believed in me, and I started getting better opportunities with her. So what happened was I had auditioned for 2 roles for The Whole Truth. And it was originally set to be shot up north. And I think the funding fell out, or the actor at the time was supposed to be Daniel Craig. And something happened. He fell out, moved it to New Orleans. Keanu stepped in. When Keanu stepped in, whoever was playing the role I ended up getting, the district attorney, that person's dates conflicted. So what they did, which is very common, this is why I say to actors all the time, you cannot let the job, booking a job, it has to be irrelevant to you. Yes, we can want it. That's fine. But there's so many factors that go into it. Focus on what you do. Focus on your preparation. Focus on your playtime. And then walk away. I call it prep, pray, walk away. That's what I do, right? And so I auditioned for 2 roles. They call me and they say, hey, can you fly to New Orleans tomorrow for a director-producer session? And it's for the lead role, for the district attorney, okay? And I'm like, yeah. So actually, it wasn't the next day. I think they called me on a Wednesday because I was shooting a TV show called The Real Rob with Rob Schneider that weekend. So I knew I had to get through that. I think it was like the following Monday they wanted me to fly. So like Wednesday to Monday. And I said, yeah, of course. And so what was interesting was the first audition, I think, was like 9 pages for this prosecutor. And I decide I'm going to go work with, at the time, who still I call him my coach, but it's who I coach under. His name is Jack Plotnick, an amazing actor. He's got tons and tons of credits, well-known acting coach, has changed a lot of lives because he was the first person I saw that one was a true working actor who had directed big movies. He was the first one I ever met as a coach who said all this other stuff was lies, don't believe it, right? You know what I mean? And he's the one that taught me to approach scripted work as an improv. So I decided I'm going to go do a session with him this Sunday night before I get on the plane. And I'm so glad I did, because all we did was work on me relaxing with the dialogue, because it was 9 pages or whatever it was. And so we really focused for the first time. I'd been with him for 2 years, but we really focused on just kind of relaxing with the dialogue, just absorbing the dialogue, trusting the dialogue, and getting me away from being so focused on being word perfect, right? And I'll come back to that later, where that can be dangerous for us. I want to be word perfect. I don't need
Which is very different than prepping for the audition. Now you've got it. Now you got to get comfortable with it.
Get confident.
Yeah.
Get rid of that confident with it. And so I had this great session with him. I get on the plane the next day. I'm flying there, and I'm literally preparing, and I feel the breakthrough, man. Like, I'm not kidding you. I'm sitting on this Delta flight, and I'm like, oh, this is a breakthrough. Like, I'm for the first time, I'm sitting here doing 9 pages. I'm smiling. I'm not the least bit thinking about how I might say something, how I might do something. None of it. I'm just absorbing it, and it's fun, man, right? So I land, and I go straight to this, to Megan Lewis's office at the sound stage in New Orleans. I walk in. I'm always early, so I'm probably 15 minutes early, respectfully early, right?
Sure, yeah.
So I walk in. She comes out and sees me. She comes over and she hands me 12 new pages. And she says, I'm so sorry, Jim. I'll give you as much time as I can. A lot of it's the same, but because they went from up north to New Orleans, it's changed.
Oh.
And she says, but we're only doing the first scene. So really focus on the first scene and maybe the last scene. I said, okay, great. And I sat down and I felt so much joy and excitement and confidence because everything the last 24 hours, the flight, there was no panic. And I sat there and read the first one, and I was like, okay, the first scene, it's probably 80% the same, right? There's a little bit of it was small changes within it. Go to the second one, probably pretty similar, same. And even though she said focus on 1 and 3, I was like, I just need to take some time with this, Go to the third one. The third one was probably the most different, just kind of the layout. They just reworded some things, right? Okay. They come in and get me. I go in, director, all these producers. It's a small room, but there's like a couch with these producers, director, Megan, and then whoever's taping me. And we do scene 1. And the director looks over, looks back. She goes, that was really good. Let's go to scene 2. Now, Megan behind the camera goes, I smiled. I said, yeah, let's do scene 2. So we do scene 2. She goes, that's really good. Let's go to the closing argument. Let's go to scene 3. I said, sure. And so I do the scene 3. And again, this is all coming together for me. Like in this moment in time, right? This Monday, summer, I think would have been June 2014. And it's all these years, like from 1999, it's everything coming together. And I get it. It's confident and I'm free, right? And I do it. And while I'm doing it, one of the producers is texting on his BlackBerry. And so I get done. She says, that was really good. She goes, throw away the words. She said, don't even worry about it. Just convince me and us. She goes to the room. She goes, everyone here's the jury. I said, okay, great. Action. I start, I turn, that producer gets back on his phone and I walk over and I stand right over top of him. And I just start talking about this case, what this person has done to his father. And that guy looks at me. He puts down his phone. Mm-hmm. I wasn't angry about it. I just went to him, right? And I start talking to each person. And I'm just very still. I'm very specific. Cut. Thank you, Jim. That was great. Thank you for coming in. Wonderful. I walked outside. I took an Uber over to a place called Joey's Kitchen, right across from Mayan's Cigar Lounge, which is my cigar lounge when I'm in New Orleans. I went in. I sat down. I ordered a meal. I texted Jack Plotnick, and I said, that's the best audition I've ever done in my life, whether I get the job or not. That is the best I've ever gone into a room and presented what I do. I didn't have a care in the world. I wasn't thinking the results. I didn't care what anyone else. I wasn't trying to be anything else. I was honest, baby. Okay? Half hour later. Or no, I'm sorry, that was late. The next morning, I'm sitting with my agents having coffee, and the call comes in, and I'll never forget it. And she looks at me, and she goes, I'm with him right now. And she goes, they want to offer you the role of lead front billing opposite Keanu Reeves. And we hugged, and I walked outside, and I called my mother. And I said, Mom, all those prayers, All those times you prayed and you convinced me not to quit. Every time I wanted to come home, every time I thought about going back to law enforcement, every time you kept saying, you're one job away, son. And then when I got it, I called my very dear friend, Eric Olson, who was a Commonwealth attorney. He's the Commonwealth attorney of Stafford County now, but he was a Commonwealth attorney when I was a young policeman and also when I was a detective. And Eric gave me hours. He just gave me hours of his time and sent him the script. And what I remember most was him talking about jury work, which he was really well known for. And I said, Eric, I see on all these shows, they're always walking, they're always pacing and all that. And he said, Jim, the main thing he said was, when you have what you have, when you have the evidence, when you plant at that jury and you let them see the confidence in you planting. You don't need to walk and pace to make a point. Plant in confidence. I said, okay, great. And we kept on working. Day one, my day one with Keanu was supposed to be like a small couple lines scene. And the director comes to me and she says, hey, I'm so sorry. We're having to move some stuff around. Any way you can do your closing argument today? And I said, yes, ma'am. Because when I show up on day one, I can do any scene in the film. That's how I like to prep. Okay, give me a couple of minutes. I can look at it. I'm already prepared because that's my producer brain. And I understand that adds value. That's a value add. Any actor who can absorb and adjust and overcome on any given day is a value add to a director and producer. Okay. I said, yes, ma'am. No, it was opening argument. Sorry, it wasn't closing argument. So I walk over, we come back and she says to me, so I'm thinking you're kind of pacing here. And I said, Courtney, I've been working with a really successful Commonwealth attorney, district attorney, who's done a lot of murder trials. And he's been consulting with me and spent a lot of time. And he gave me this idea. She goes, I love it. Let's do that.
What was it like when they called you the next day and said they replaced you with Johnny Depp and they wanted to reshoot everything?
That's really funny because I had 30 days from when they hired me until I flew back to start. You're making a joke, but I'm going to tell you the God's honest truth. I had a little over 30 days from the time I booked that morning where my agents, where they call and we're hugging and I'm calling my mama, right? I fly back to LA and I had over 30 days. Every day I woke up in a panic. They were going to call and say, we're just kidding. We found someone better. We found a name or whatever. And all I would do every day is I'd have those thoughts and lean into my prep.
Obviously, it served you well because you've ended up doing Justified. It's all worked out for you. You've done so many things, and you're still back and forth between here and LA. One of the things that you and I talked about recently here, and again, we're skipping around a little bit, are the self-tape things. The cinematic self-tapes versus the general, backdrop self-tapes. And it was interesting, your perspective. You were telling me, if you're able to tell the story about a self-tape that you saw an actor do in a parking garage.
Yeah, I actually helped him do it. He was a great actor. Leon was in a movie. I did a movie last March and April in New York with Dennis Quaid called The Florist. And me and Leon, we play these two cop partners in the thing. And so we go to work one day and we end up with a long break. He says, hey, I just got this 8-page audition in. Do you mind reading it with me? I said, not only do I mind reading it with you, but I brought my taping kit. I had it in my backpack. He goes, are you serious? I said, yeah. So we prepped it. And then across the street from where we were shooting was an underground parking place. And we went down and it had a nice cinder block back wall. And I had my kit with a light. And Leon's a world-class professional and a great human. And he slayed it. And we sent it. And he's repped at 2 big agencies. Like he's big rep, and they both wrote back immediately like, this is great.
That was great. That was an 8-page audition.
8-page, yeah.
So you guys just on the spur of the moment said, hey, let's go do it. What was his prep like for 8 pages?
I think him and I spent about 30 minutes. One of the things that happens when you do this at a high level longer is memorization gets way less intimidating. It just does, right? And one of the things that when I meet a lot of actors, when they first come to me, okay, almost always they're there's something that's making them anxious. And a lot of times it's memorization. And I can understand it. I really can. I get it. But, memorization is something you can work on every day. The brain doesn't know the difference between a quote and a monologue. When you're memorizing, the brain doesn't know that the only difference, if you give me 1 page versus 5 pages, the only difference is the amount of time. But the brain doesn't know the difference. So I memorize every day. I memorize something every day, right? And I think he's a tip of the spear guy. He's an incredible actor. So I'd say 30 minutes, we were off book. That was his healthy prep. He had already done his character comprehension and his and scene comprehension. So he was already prepared. And then we just kind of did the memorization, and then he slayed it. We just went over and he did one take. And it was like, yep, let's go.
Dumb question. Do you do your self-tapes in front of a gray backdrop or a blue backdop? What do you prefer? Does it matter?
I don't know if solid matters. You know what I mean? That's what does matter. Solid, make sure it's solid. I've booked using white walls in a hotel that were solid. I prefer a light gray. That's what I personally like. I have blue eyes. I think my eyes pop a little bit more with a gray background. If you have a blue black backdrop, it can kind of fall in.
You do have beautiful eyes.
Thank you.
Stop staring at it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And so, I'd say light gray is my favorite. When you start putting more pressure on the tech of your audition, then you're adding anxiety that's opposite, because it doesn't matter how cinematic it's going to look. If you're not prepared in delivering an honest performance, it ain't going to matter.
What's something you're able to talk about? Or actually, we tend to go over funny stories too. What's something you can talk about from set that might be a blooper or just something funny that's happened on set to you that you didn't expect?
I don't know. I always go back to, on Green Book, me and Viggo, when he knocks me out, when I first pulled him over and he knocks me out on the side of the road, we had already shot the other stuff first. So I'd already met everyone, him and Harrelson. We were shooting out of order. And so I was on another movie in another part of Louisiana. I was doing 2 movies at one time, and I'm driving between the 2. And so it snows for the first time. And it's not in New Orleans, it's a couple hours outside, but it snows for the first time in 10 years in Louisiana. The night we're under a rain machine doing that scene. And that water, if you've ever worked on rain, the water trucks is ice cold. They don't heat the water. It's absolutely frigid. And so there's the young man who plays my cop partner. It's his first booking. Nice kid, Billy. Nice kid, man. So excited to be there, but nervous. It's like, this is my first movie ever, and I'm with these guys. And so 2 things from that night that just absolutely I remember and love so much is we do a take, and we're soaking wet, and it's cold, man. Snow's on the ground 20 feet from us. We're supposed to be in Alabama. And Viggo looks at me and he says, "Man, you believe we get to do this?" I remember thinking,
and get paid.
I don't believe I get to do it. Viggo, I totally see that you get to do it. But that was a really funny moment. I just remember how that struck me, of just how excited he was to be there. Now later, after several takes, and they wanted to give directions while the rain was still on, he did yell one day, he's like, "Okay, can we hurry up? Can we hurry up a little bit? It's cold."
And this is Viggo Mortensen.
Viggo Mortensen, yeah. He was just so wonderful. But what happened after that is we go back, we get cleaned up, we're doing another take. And so the kid that's playing my partner, he can't hear any of that. Because again, he's on one side, we're on the other side of the car. And he gets in the car. And we had done one take, and we got all cleaned up, dry, and now we're going to go do another take. And he says, man, he's like, I'm watching how you talk to them. And he's like, these are movie stars. Like, how are you so calm and relaxed? And I said to him, between action and cut, they're not movie stars. We're all liars trying not to get caught. That's the truth. That's what we are. We're the same between action and cut. He might be a movie star and famous and rich and all that outside of action and cut. But between action and cut, we're both trying to be as honest as we can, moment to moment. And what we should be doing, and what Viggo did do, and I hope I did for him, was be giving to one another. And if you want to be a giving actor, you listen, and you behave honestly.
A couple times you brought up you're a producer as well. So what drives you on that one, and what are you working on right now?
I have a ton I'm working on right now as a producer, and I've directed 7 feature films as well. So I have one that I wrote many years ago. I actually wrote the original script for a movie I'm directing next year. I wrote the original script when I was working security for Kate Beckinsale in 2008. Kate was awesome to work with. She was a really good person. I later produced a film that she starred in, so she's just a dear friend. So that's called The Wise Monkey, and so I'm very excited about that, and I'll be directing that. And then I have a movie that I starred in called Chum, which comes out this year that I'm really excited about as well, that I think is going to be a fun movie.
So we had talked about the idea that every level is a new devil.
Mm-hmm.
And props to our buddy Jonathan Shores, who was actually our very first interview on this podcast, set up actually through you. We met him through you. Great guy. Shout out also to Nathan Gist, Phil Snow, the rest of the Fredericksburg Film Club. Jonathan mentioned that that every level is a new devil, and that was really an interesting mindset.
Yeah, I think the more we understand, the longer you're in this, it goes back to my original thing we were talking about, Matt, is like, the art of acting is easy. The business of acting is extremely difficult.
It's a business.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the pursuit of making a career as an actor, the pursuit of being a paid actor, the pursuit of making your living, very difficult. And so, and what happens is as you start to get some success and you go up this, and I always use the floor, right? If you look at a skyscraper. So let's say I'm on the 20th. Keanu, he's on the 130th. But here's the thing, he's still climbing. How do I know this? Because he's doing Broadway for the very first time in his life. He's still climbing, right? But as you climb a skyscraper, you get more tired along the way, don't you? As you get higher, things get... So even you guys were telling me about this audition that you both have for a pretty popular show. We won't say the show, right? But a very popular show. Okay. Now, that's exciting for you guys, right?
Right.
Super exciting to have those auditions, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you think the competition is at an all-time high compared to something that maybe you auditioned for here locally 2 years ago? Yes. Yeah. It's not a knock on the local. It has no knock on what you did 2 years ago. It's just understanding as you level up. Like right now, I had an audition a couple weeks ago for a huge show, a recurring on a huge show that's very popular. Who knows who they're talking to for that show?
Right. Yeah.
And I lost. I don't even say I lost, but I was pinned for a series regular a couple years ago for a big show, right? Like, and for a month they had me pinned, going between me and another person. Okay. And when the other person got it, and I saw who got it, right? I was like, okay, that's the ballpark I'm in. The moment you accept it, instead of complaining about it and just say, oh man, okay, great. I understand. That's a new level. How do I get better?
We really want to thank you for being here, Jim. And listen, come back anytime. We want to hear so much more from you. Are there any parting words, anything more that you feel like actors, new and veteran, may benefit from in this industry?
What I would say is I love the fact that what you guys are doing here, the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, because when I first started acting, I struggled to find that. And I was blessed enough to find Michael Mack in his acting studio, and I was blessed to do theater. And then the truth is, I remember seeing a documentary on Billy Bob Thornton talking about how he created Sling Blade. And that's what got me going to Barnes & Noble and reading how to produce and how to write a screenplay. I wrote my first screenplay in my cop car on my MDT on a floppy disk, right? And I shot it at a movie theater that I had as an off-duty job. And I had so many, the whole cast was DMV actors. It was actors I'd worked with in plays. The kid that directed it, Neil McKay, I had met, he was videoing stuff for us at the police department as training videos. And I was like, oh, you know how to use a camera, you're directing this, right? This area is so special of talent. Like there's so much talent in the DMV area. Just the size of it, and find your way into this local community. You mentioned, the film club I mentor with Phil and Nathan and Jonathan.
Yeah.
If you have a dream, if you are in this Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland area, you have a dream, you have a thought, man, I'd like to get into acting or making movies or producing or directing. I am here to tell you, someone who I had no connection to Hollywood. My family wasn't in Hollywood. I didn't come from money. There was nothing for me, okay? I am telling you, all I had was a dream and faith. And I am where I am today because of that faith. And people, as you invest in it, as you put yourself out there, people will come along to help you, help them.
That's the best advertisement we've had for the podcast, because that's what we're trying to do, is provide a platform for people from the DMV to come on and,
be a resource.
No matter what level you're at, New Devil, come on and talk about what you're doing or what you want to do.
And we didn't even get into the 10 times I emailed you the same email, that whole story. But that was part of why I emailed you that many times, because I saw somebody who came from this area who potentially, and from what I had read, didn't have any ties to Hollywood beforehand, and from the ground up just kept going at it. And that's the way I saw myself. And I thought, well, I see myself in him for obvious reasons, for multiple reasons. How do I do this? And that's why we decided to do the podcast as well, for other actors that are thinking the same thing and may not have anybody they can email and say, how do I do this? They're learning it all on their own.
And I never wanted, to go back, that's a perfect example. I never wanted to coach. When I was coming up, I never thought, I'll coach or I'll be a prep consultant or all that. And even when the first opportunity for Netflix came, I said no for a week. It was not until my wife said to me, why do you keep saying no? Wouldn't you want someone to help you? Literally, I'll never forget. And that was the moment. I said, okay. The next day I said yes, okay. So shout out to Marcy Klock, because if it wasn't for her, I would have never met Ava Michelle. I would have never, started really the coaching that I do now, that I'm very, very, I love it. I love it so much. But I do remember early in my career, I would say to Daryl Martinelli again, and Daryl was a police officer with me before he went back to Atlantic City, and we would be sitting there and I would say, I just wish we had a system like we do in law enforcement. Law enforcement, you have field training officers, you have mentors, you have all these people that want to help you. Now, not everyone, there's some bad eggs, but there's a lot of great people that helped me in my law enforcement career. I never had a lack of mentorship. And man, I just felt like I struggled to find, and I still think it's a problem in Hollywood. Denzel Washington has a great quote, man. When you reach a goal, reach back and take someone with you, right? And he is someone who does it. I've seen it. Jamie Lee does it. Jamie Lee got on the phone for me at lunch and called a director. At lunch, okay? And that mindset of helping each other, that's all I wanted as a young actor. I just wanted someone to give me some guidance. And that's what I try to do now. It's why I share Jack's book. It's why I share the way I prepare. It's why I take phone calls. It's why I return emails. If nothing else, maybe I can put a little wind in your sail to get you going in the right direction.
Yeah. And you've definitely done that for me, and I really appreciate it on a serious note. And by the way, shout out to Marcy Klock, going back, and also Jamie Lee, I'll work for food.
So will I, Jamie Lee. So will I. And that's not the only time she's done that. She's done that.
Work for food?
No. Help me. Several times she's put my name in for something, which is, you can't ask for more, man.
If you found that this helped anybody, feel free to like, subscribe, share. This will be on Spotify. Of course, you're watching this on YouTube. And Jim.
Yes,
with a K.
Follow me on Instagram at Jim D. Klock. And if you have any questions or something, hit me up. I try to answer everybody I can to try to help other dreamers.
How do we do that?